It's the airnetwork.net. Welcome to Monday Night Sports Talk. Just think 18 days from now, first day of spring. This time next week, the sun will still be up, so hey, there's some hope for us after all. Meanwhile, lots to gab about tonight as the four dudes get together live here on the airnetwork.net to talk nothing but sports for the next hour here on the airnetwork.net. I'm Greg Banks in the studio, joined by Dave Shannon in Altoona, Jimmy Ty, Johnstown, and Chad States in Huntington. And Chad, you tell me that we're bound to see a little bit of snow action yet before we see spring.
There's going to be some ice and some snow coming here in the next couple of days.
Oh, man.
Mother Nature's not done yet.
Just like we're not used to it, Dave. We've seen enough of it. I guess you going up 99, Dave, every day or going towards State College, you must see your share of it, huh?
Oh, my goodness. I between that and the driveway,
yeah.
And I would trade that like maybe once every 2 weeks where you get maybe 12 inches and trade that off for these like 4 inches every other day. It's like, stop it, I'm done.
Well, I think we're going to get there, Jimmy. I know you've been getting a lot of snow up there in the Richland area, so just hang in there. Spring is, of course, right around the corner. We're just not sure where that corner is just yet. But, one of the signs of spring, guys, is the Pirates in Bradenton, full squad finally down there today. Sort of an intra-squad game, black and gold, if you will. Not all the starters played today, but at least Clint Hurdle got a chance to see some of the minor leaguers, which is the case in the first week, what you want to do before you send them back to where they have to go. But let me ask you this. We'll start with Jimmy. The Pirates are being hailed in national publications and television as a postseason threat this year. They're citing the best outfield in the major leagues, and some are even saying possibly the World Series. Jimmy, what's your thoughts? And then we'll go to Dave and Chad.
First off, I'm a huge Pirates fan like everybody else around this area, but I don't see them going to the World Series. You might have one of the best outfields in the National League, but Polanco has to play right field perfectly this year. He can't go out and have 0 for 20 or whatever it would be. Going into as one of the better teams in baseball, I could see them winning maybe at least, I'm going to say 87, 88 games, being another wild card team. So,
having said that, Jimmy, Dave, Andrew McCutchen overheard today saying that he is one of the best outfields in the league as he was thumbing his nose at Kemp. One of his best friends in the National League. What's your thoughts on that outfield and, of course, maybe the pitching for the Pirates this year?
I'm satisfied with both of those aspects. I'll stand by what I said last week. I don't see them going that far because they lost their, as Chad, I believe, referred to him last week, and aptly so, the quarterback of the team is gone. You cannot lose a player as valuable as Russell Martin. I mean, we all sat there. We all suffered through all of these, not totally horrible, but, a number of not so good catchers over the past umpteen seasons. I think Jason Kendall would be arguably the best catcher that we had over an extended period there in Pittsburgh, especially when he was at his prime. But, it's interesting. There's some similarities between Kendall and Martin as far as physical stature goes. But I'm sorry, I can't give them the nod because I know how critical that position is. When the team that you're playing feels that they can run on you at a moment's notice and know they can get away with it, it just changes what the pitcher can do, what the infielders can do, even what the outfielders can do. Everything changes because you don't have that good arm behind the plate that you can't pick somebody off.
Well, Chad,
I'm sorry. Russell Martin's the key to that team.
Chad, are you confident Cervelli can at least get some momentum going this season to help out basically the Pirates? We know he's not Russell Martin. Come on.
I'm not, but I might be eating crow with this. Now, this could be just coach talk, but I just read an article on Sports Illustrated today where Hurdle is completely confident with Cervelli's defensive capabilities and what he's going to bring to the table for the Pirates as a replacement for Russell Martin. I don't believe him at all. But, because I watched Cervelli play in New York, granted, that's apples to oranges. It's really tough to play in New York. There's been some really good players that have gone there that just haven't done well. Then they went back to another team, and they do just fine. But I have a hard time believing that Cervelli can really match the leadership that Russell Martin brought to the table.
Right.
I just don't see it. With that said, I agree. I think they're an 85 to 87 win team as a wild card threat. But the same article had them becoming the NL Central champions.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a tough stretch, but we'll see. They definitely have the outfield to pull it off.
Right. It's Monday Night Sports Talk here on the airnetwork.net. And I'm being a little remiss, guys, real quick, if I didn't give out this phone number, because we're asking people to give us a call and give us their thoughts as well. Our studio line is 814-619-4286. That's 814-619-4286. If you want to get in on any of these conversations, or if you have something you'd like to talk about regionally, nationally, or even locally as we come out of Pennsylvania tonight on the airnetwork.net. Jimmy, you're going to jump in there, and Dave, go ahead, Jimmy.
You got to look at the key to the Pirates right now is the veteran leadership. They bring A.J. Burnett back after he had a horrible season last year in Philadelphia. But Burnett, like Dave was saying about Russell Martin, Burnett was so used to pitching to Russell Martin as his battery mate. Mm-hmm. Garrett Cole was used to Martin. How is that going to – this camp is going to be really big for Cervelli to get the – what word am I looking for? Is going to get the
you got to get that kind of momentum going.
The momentum, yeah.
Well, it's the confidence of the pitcher.
The confidence
the
with
pitcher
the pitcher
has
with
to
him.
Well,
the
Dave,
pitcher has to have confidence with him.
Dave, is that something you can develop over the course of the next maybe 4 to 6 weeks, though? I mean, at least get a good feel for that down in Bradenton.
I don't know if so much in Bradenton. It's going to be a WIP, as they say, a work in progress.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a long process.
It'll take game situation. They'll have a little better idea, certainly after spring training is over, what kind of catcher they're going to have behind the plate. Mm-hmm. But in the end, it's going to depend on what kind of a game does he call for them as far as the pitchers go during a regular season game. How well is he going to know the pitchers? How well is he going to set up behind the plate? What kind of target does he give the pitcher?
Yeah.
How's his pitch sequence? What pitches would he be calling? If there is a speedy guy at first, is he, getting the right pitch and the right pitch sequence so that he can throw him out? So these are things I think, they're basic things you can look at in spring training.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, it's going to take that first month of actual play to figure out what they have back there.
And I imagine in baseball, Chad, just like football, it's going to be a work in progress, as Dave said. So Cervelli's going to have to do his homework. He's going to have to actually sit down and watch some film on sort of like what the pitchers are, of course, doing in their deliveries. In addition to that, so he can get familiar with them. Plus, more importantly, each team he's going to have to break down, wouldn't you say, to see how their guys are running and what they might telegraph. Because, being a base runner, in high school and college and stuff, we learned how to maybe not telegraph that we were taking off. You think that will be helpful, film study?
Well, it's going to have to be. Much like the quarterback is the center of the universe in the football world. Mm-hmm. To me, I want the catcher to be that same smart, intelligent guy behind the plate because he's the one who can see the whole field. He's the only one that can see the whole field. And he is the only one that can direct the pitching staff. The smarter he is, the better off your team's going to be. I will say one thing about Cervelli. The good thing is he's coming from New York.
Right.
And what I mean by that is he had Joe Girardi as his manager.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Girardi is an excellent catcher's coach.
Exactly.
And so that's going to help him moving forward. I'm not worried about Burnett. Burnett was lights out when he was in Florida, small market team. Goes to big market New York, doesn't do well.
Right.
Comes to Pittsburgh, small market, does well.
Does
Goes
well.
to Philly, big market, doesn't do well. So I think Burnett's going to be – I think he's going to feel at home because he just doesn't feel the pressure on him when he comes to these these smaller market cities. He's better suited for that. But, we're hanging a lot on Cervelli here tonight, and I think we have to. I think that's where the rubber meets the road for the Pirates this year.
Well, when we go further in depth throughout the season, we're going to talk more about that pitching staff, too, to see if everybody's comfortable with that. But having said that, it's Monday Night Sports Talk on the airnetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio, Dave Shannon, Altoona. Jimmy Ty, Johnstown, and Chad States joins us live from Huntington. If you'd like to join us, give us a buzz. 814-619-4286 is the number. That's 814-619-4286. Let me ask you this, Dave. Will the adopted change of pace strategy or this new rule in Major League Baseball where the batters have to keep that 1 foot in the batter's box make a big difference this year? And I found out today the fine starts out at in May. It's only $500 per infraction. The clock thing has not been adopted yet. They'll be using that down in the minor leagues. But let's talk about this change of pace rule in major leagues this year with the batter, because Big Papi's already said he's not doing it. He's not changing his style. What do you think, Dave?
Well, yeah.
He says he's going to shell out
kind
some
of
money.
He has the kind of salary where it really doesn't matter to him. It's whatever makes him comfortable to play his game. That being said, I think it's long overdue that something happened. I don't like necessarily that someone dictates, per se, the speed of the game, but I think batters started to get to the point where they really took advantage of, the thing about holding your hand up. You hold your hand up like back toward the umpire. Hold up. I'm not ready yet. Bull crap. You're ready.
Yeah.
It's time to go. And I think they started to really take excessive advantage of the ability they had to maybe ask for the umpire to, take a quick pause there. So, with that in mind, I think it was a good move. I think it'll take a little bit of time for some players. I think other players it won't. They talked about the Buccos with Josh Harrison, probably one of the biggest between-pitch routines of anybody on the team. And I think Josh will adjust to that just fine. He may still kick that bat with his toes, and go through that. But do it right in the batter's spot.
Well, Chad, you're with Tenor League Baseball. Tell us a little bit about how that works there, how you guys have sped up the game, and all this equipment adjusting with these elbow pads. I mean, we can't go through another season of that, can we?
Well, you don't get that at my level anyway. Kids have to keep it's a league rule. You've got to keep a foot in the batter's box.
Right.
But what we'll also do is we'll also make sure that the pitcher isn't out there stalling on the mound either.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that Major League Baseball did not address. Is as much as I don't need a batter standing up there adjusting his batting gloves on 3 separate occasions. Deep breath. Adjusting his shirt. Whatever else he needs to adjust at the batter's box before he gets in there. The pitcher's also responsible for for his own actions out there too. So you have to speed up both entities.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, the reason why these guys are going to have a problem with it is these games that are, for lack of better terms, slower paced, golf, baseball. The ones where you have time to think, they're very, and Dave said it, he said the word, they're very routine based. So if you get out of your routine, it could mess up your timing, it can mess up a whole bunch of things. And I think that's where Big Papi, David Ortiz, is going with it is, hey, this is my approach to hitting a baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Don't break up my routine. It's almost like watching Sergio Garcia with his waggle that takes him, 10 hours to hit a golf ball.
Oh, yeah.
He's not changing that. Because that's his approach. That's how he feels comfortable attacking it. And I think that's what these batters are feeling is, hey, you're going to do something to me. You need to do something to those guys out there that are throwing me the pill, too.
Yeah, Jimmy, as Chad just mentioned, I hate to also to see the pitcher out there kicking dirt off of the rubber, or he's doing a little bit of landscaping there on the mound. Do you think this $500 is even going to be anything that anybody even worries about this year?
These guys are making millions of dollars. It's chump change. It's like giving them a $20 bill.
Yeah.
Here you go. Wait, it's just giving them a $20 bill.
It's like a tip, I guess. Yeah.
It's a tip for them. These guys, they give waitresses $500.
Yeah.
But
whatnot. But the sad thing is, it's like you look at a player like Pedro Alvarez. Every time the pitcher throws the ball, he'll swing the bat. He'll step out of the batter's box. He'll take a couple swings.
Yeah, everybody
Then
does.
he'll step back in, and it just slows it down. And these guys, these players like Harrison, like A-Rod, like McCutchen, everybody, they're so used to this routine from the minor leagues.
Yeah.
It's like telling somebody like LeBron James or Kevin Durant, whenever you get the basketball at the foul line, take it and just shoot it.
Yeah.
Don't go through all your routine because it slows down the game. And that's basically what it is. It's a routine for them. And these these guys have to break this routine, which they're not going to because this is what they were brought up to in the minor leagues.
And I could see, Chad, as we talk about this would really be detrimental to your rhythm. As Jimmy said, if you're I noticed the young kid out of St. Louis, the first baseman, what's his name, Matt Adams?
Matt Adams.
He has certain little idiosyncrasies, if you will, when he comes to the plate that he looks like he developed maybe in high school or maybe in Little League, that it's so ingrained in this kid that it's going to be hard for him to break these habits like that.
And there isn't anybody who played the game that doesn't have those in some sort of manner, whether it was at the plate, whether it was pitching, even whether it's in the field.
Yeah.
I used to go through a routine when I was playing second base just to get myself prepared for what might happen next. So it very much is. The difference that Major League Baseball threw in there, the little caveat I think I caught was it's $500 per occurrence.
Occurrence, okay.
So the last time I checked, you're not getting out of the batter's box with any less than 3 pitches, right? So if you do it 3 times in the same at bat and you strike out, you're down $1,500. Well, how many times do you just get out with 3 pitches?
Wouldn't it be more of an incentive?
You could be $4 or $5 grand in one at bat.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be more of an incentive, though, real quick, if we just did, if you did it and you stepped out of the box, it's a strike, automatic. Wouldn't that hurt the team as a whole more? So the management and the coaches would have to set these guys down and say, hey, look, you know what, man, now you're hurting our team.
Aren't
that $500 isn't hurting.
That's what it is.
Aren't you really dipping way too in? I understand what you're saying.
Right.
But isn't that really dipping a little too deeply into the game itself?
Well, we talked about it before.
When you start doing balls and strikes based on something happening, a catcher's interference, okay, that's a ball. And you see stuff like that.
Well, we talked about it before, Dave. Like if you're going to walk somebody.
We're talking about a convenience, though. We're talking about, okay, America doesn't have a big attention span.
Yeah.
Too fucking bad. Adjust, America. It's like, I don't like the idea of because you didn't go fast enough to satisfy the fast food mentality of the average 18-year-old. That's a strike.
Well, yeah, but Dave, the reason they're doing it is because of that next generation of what they call millennials don't have a very long attention span, and they know in order to groom these guys, they got to speed the game up now here in 2015.
Dave, we actually do that in our league. If you step out of the batter's box, our umpires, they don't have to, but most of the time they do. They'll call a strike on you just to keep the game moving. That's right.
Wow. And you also have to look at the pitchers. They keep throwing over to first base all the time. That slows down the game.
Yeah, that gets my attention more so because now I'm detrimental to my team. And, that $500 is individual, but when it hurts my team, somebody's going to get me straightened out. Hey, nonetheless, it's Monday Night Sports Talk here on the AirNetwork.net. Give us a call. Get involved in the conversation with Dave Shannon, Jimmy Ty, Chad States, and yours truly, Greg Banks. Our number is 814-619-4286. That's 814-619-4286. Coming up, we've got NFL football. In addition to that, we've got NCAA basketball, Penn State wrestling, and a whole lot more. Stick around. We've got more up next. Need printing services done with quality, on time, and at a reasonable price? Then stop by Images Print Shop in downtown Huntington, where they can help you design and print brochures, business forms, business cards, newsletters, flyers, and so much more. Images Print Shop is your hometown print shop and web hosting service dedicated to excellent and quality service at affordable prices. See what Images Print Shop can do for you online at imagesprintshop.com or call us weekdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 643-1796.
Kick off your appetite with great food from Original Italian Pizza in downtown Huntington, where Bearcat fans huddle up before and after the big game. OIP in downtown Huntington provides your taste buds with appetizers, dinners, pizzas, subs, and so much more. Stop by OIP in downtown Huntington for a sandwich, meal, and cold drinks 7 days a week, or call ahead for takeouts at 643-0665 or 643-0666. OIP in downtown Huntington with the best food and the lowest prices in town.
If you're searching for a used vehicle, or perhaps a used boat for a leisurely trip on the lake, find them today online at penswoods.net. From things for sale or things to buy, the free classifieds at penswoods.net have it all. From houses for sale, apartments for rent, or even things to trade, penswoods.net is the region's largest site for free classifieds. Check it out today and make money or save money at penswoods.net.
The Burns Law Firm is an experienced law firm located at 104 South Center Street in Evansburg, just steps away from the Cambria County Courthouse. Attorney Tim Burns and his staff will provide you with professional expertise in DUI, family law, personal injury claims, plus other areas of law at reasonable rates and fees. Contact Attorney Tim Burns for a consultation by calling 814-471-1701 or online at www.attytimburns.com for more information.
It's here on Network.net, Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio, Chad States Huntington, Dave Shannon, Ian Altoona, and Jimmy Ty live from Johnstown. You can get involved by calling us at 814-619-4286. That's 814-619-4286. And guys, as we continue tonight's show, I want to tell people they can always listen to our show if they like to on the airnetwork.net. Our front page is www.theairnetwork.net. Of course, the day after or perhaps that entire week. So if you miss it live, you can always check us out online. Hey, here's something for you, Jimmy. We'll start with you and then Dave and Chad. I see where Adrian Peterson has been pretty much expunged from, that whole thing with his child now. And the NFL has made pretty much a decision that he can come back and play, although he's having some hard feeling with the Vikings as he looks down the road here. Do you think Peterson should stay with the Vikings or look for greener pastures, Jimmy?
Look for greener pastures. He had his due in Minnesota. Go to a team that he knows that can win a Super Bowl. He's such a great football player.
Right.
That's never really made it to the big game. Never really made it to the playoffs, I don't think. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, I don't believe Vikings have been in the playoffs since he's been there.
Since he's been there. So go to a team he knows that will go and make the playoffs and try to get that Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
I got a place for him.
Pittsburgh.
Dallas.
Oh, yeah. I've heard rumblings that Dallas is very interested in him in free agency, Dave.
His family's down there.
Yeah, that fits both his MO and, as Jimmy just said, his family's there. So, hey, see you later. Have fun with the Cowboys.
Yeah, hey,
and I can see Jerry Jones loving him, too.
Well, we'll get to him in just a minute about what's happening in Dallas now. But, Chad, what's your thought on Adrian Peterson staying with the Vikings or perhaps in free agency looking for greener pastures?
Well, one, he's not a free agent.
He's not? Okay.
He's still controlled by the Vikings. Two, he's not going anywhere. Minnesota's going to keep him. I don't think they're going to let him go. And I think Dallas, it's in their best interest to re-sign DeMarco Murray. They don't need to bring the Adrian Peterson show down there. They got enough problems with Des Bryant.
Yeah.
So they don't need any more prima donnas down there at all.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, the Vikings they're not smart if they let this guy go. He is their team. He is their offense. He needs to stay put, and I think he's going to. I don't think the Vikings are going to turn him loose.
Yeah, you don't think they're going to cut him loose? They're going to hold on to him.
Yep.
What do you think? Yeah, but how do you think he feels now? Because there's going to be such a what's the feeling?
Well,
there's going to be that whole thing about you guys threw me under the bus. Yeah, resentment.
There might be, but he doesn't have a choice. In the NBA, the players run the league.
Yeah.
In the NFL, the owners run the league. And it's just the way it is. And he's not going to have a choice. If he wants to do anything, he plays out his contract, he plays it to the best of his ability, and then he moves on. Because if he lays down, and no other team's going to want to pick him up.
Right.
So
right.
He's going to have to do something.
Well, here's a similar situation. Well, maybe not similar in scope, but he's one of the hated men, one of the most hated men in the NFL, but he does a very good job, and we're talking about Ndamukong Suh. Now, today, of course, is the franchise tag day, obviously, and today Detroit actually failed to franchise Sue at $28 million. Will someone pick him up in free agency after that March 10th deadline? We'll start with you, Dave, Jimmy, and then Chad.
Boy, I'll tell you
I mean,
what.
this guy's worth the money. Let's face it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. He really, I mean, what he brings. I don't understand why he got into that because he's such a good player. I mean, he's such an imposing force on the field. He doesn't have to do any of that stupid crap that he does.
It's anger management. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I have
Taking out
no
the frustrations.
Well,
Give
you
him
know,
a Charlie Sheen.
I had an idea during the commercial break as to how we, satisfy the millennials. What we do is start spiking the Dippin' Dots with some Valium, and the game will go a lot faster for them.
Yeah.
And maybe if we take Ndamukong Suh and end up spiking whatever he has with a little Valium, that'll settle that. He'll get settled down a little bit.
Jimmy, who's going to be the highest bidder for him if he does leave? And he doesn't get that $28 million. Obviously, he's not going to get it from the Lions.
Just think of this defensive line. You have J.J. Watt
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
what I'm
Ndamukong
saying.
Suh for the Houston Texans.
J.J. Watt's getting $110 million, I think he is in his contract,
Yeah,
right?
but I don't think he'll go to Texans. Like, a team I could see Ndamukong Suh go to is a team that's very poor, like the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I can see him going to a team like the
yeah.
Raiders, the bad boys of the NFL, like the Detroit Pistons back in the 80s, where
Yeah.
the bad boys of basketball.
Yeah.
The Raiders have been the bad boys of football since the 70s.
That's true. Or at least they've had the moniker of bad boys.
Yeah,
they
the
haven't been so
moniker,
bad
yeah.
in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I can see him going to a team like the Oakland Raiders.
yeah.
Or a possibility, I could see him going to Jerry Jones down in Dallas.
Okay, your thoughts, Chad, because he just mentioned that big D word again. Were you thinking that too?
No, he's going to whoever can afford him,
Yeah.
and I don't know who that's going to be, but he's going to command a lot of money into free agency.
Yeah.
Could I see him going to the West Coast? Yeah, I think he would be a good fit in somewhere like Oakland or San Diego.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a great fit in St. Louis, who is just on the verge of potentially breaking through in that NFC West. That might put them over the hump from a defensive line standpoint. He's gonna deserve a lot of. I don't think he's gonna be J.J. Watt money, but somebody's gonna be throwing some ducats at this guy. He is a heck of a player.
Hey, you
There's
mentioned
no doubt about it.
mentioned St. Louis for a second. Let me get you to think about this. Of course, they signed who was their quarterback, Bradford, for a lot of money a few years ago, and this guy has been injury prone, I think, for many, many years. Do you think St. Louis could afford this guy? I mean, because they still, they've got this quarterback who's always hurt, but they're shelling out the big money to him. So I'm not so sure St. Louis would actually have the money for Sue, do you think?
No, I don't. I mean, again, it's going to be who has it.
Yeah, that's true, too.
I'll tell you what, who may have it is, anytime you mention New York,
Oh, yeah.
those franchises have it. I don't know that he would fit with a Tom Coughlin team, but I think he might fit with the Jets.
Oh, yeah, the Jets he would. Yeah, for
I
sure.
can see him fit in Buffalo with the Rex Ryan team, the way Rex Ryan plays. His team
That's true, too.
Absolutely.
Once again, does that franchise have the money to pay him, Jimmy?
Yeah, and that's the thing. They do, because Buffalo's a small market. It's not a New York team.
Go ahead, Chad.
Well, but throw that out. The NFL's not necessarily. You don't have to look at that small market moniker in the NFL because they revenue share because of the way the television contracts are set up. Every team has a shot.
That's
this
right.
isn't like
Yeah.
the NBA. It isn't like baseball. The NFL is a completely level playing field. It's on how you manage your team, not necessarily where you're at and how much money you have. Because not Jimmy Johnson, but the guy in Big D. When they had an uncapped season, he could just spend at will. But now you can't do that.
Jones.
You can't do that in the NFL. So
Yeah.
Jerry Jones, you can't do that in the NFL now. So he literally is going to wind up with whoever has the most cap space.
Yeah, there is a
not
ceiling
necessarily
there.
small
Yeah.
market or big market.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's even Steven. Hey, keeping that in mind, Chad, think about this now. Meanwhile, today, the Steelers failed to place a franchise tag on linebacker Jason Worlds that would have guaranteed him about $11 million for 1 year. Now, instead, Worlds could become a free agent, get about $13 million on the open market. Should the Steelers at least sit down with this guy and sign a contract extension as soon as they can? And what do you think about that, Chad? And then we'll go to Jimmy and Dave.
I like Worlds. I think he's a very good linebacker, but to me, it's a telltale to the Steelers.
Yeah.
They're wanting to get younger. They're going to go back to the draft. They want to try to get that defense needs to, you need to lower the age limit on them, so to speak.
Yeah.
They're collecting AARP, I think, at this point in time. So they need to shrink that down, and they need to free up cap space themselves because they've got Big Ben to deal with here in the not so near future. So I think letting him go is a financial statement from the Steelers.
Well, we don't know if he's going to go anywhere, because a lot of these guys are very loyal to the Steelers. But having said that, let's continue on in that kind of vein. Jimmy, what do you think the Steelers need desperately in this draft this year? Or are they going to get it through free agency? And then I'll kind of get back to Dave on this Jason Worlds thing. Jimmy, what do you think?
I would say defensive backs, cornerbacks, safeties. Polamalu's getting old.
Mm-hmm.
We know Ike Taylor, he can't play football anymore. He lost it somewhere. So I say they should go defensive backs. Maybe a player like a Landon Collins out of Alabama.
Right.
Would be a great fit for the Steelers. But that's where they need to go,
well,
to get their defensive backs a little bit better.
Well, what about through free agency, though? I mean, we can't eliminate that.
The free agency, I could see them doing, like, offensive side on the free agency.
Yeah.
Because they did get Lance Moore last year, even though he's not with them anymore. But I could see him going on the younger side on the the younger side on defense through the draft, free agency on the offensive side of the ball.
Dave Ticky, either one of those questions. Jason Worlds, talk about that, or the free agency thing we were just talking about. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I think Jimmy makes a good point. When you go down the road of free agency, that's the old rent-a-player, almost like what's going on today with the NHL, today being trade deadline day.
Right.
It's the same thing. You know what you need going in, and you don't have anybody sitting there in the wings. And defensive players, at least with the Steelers organization, have traditionally, unless they came out of the gate as, fresh out of college, being able to compete at the level that they need to. Those guys have all been works in progress. Jason Worlds, it wasn't like Jason right out of the gate that he was the type of player that he's become. That took a couple of years to get that. Mm-hmm. So it's, defense is the kind of thing, like Jimmy says, that I think you can accomplish through the draft and bring them along. Does that mean you can't get a good running back in the draft? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that's the way the Steelers have conducted business over the years.
And Chad, just following that up, Chad, it sounds to me like what they're saying is it's going to be a combination thereof this year between free agency and the draft. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's the state of the NFL. I think that they kind of have to follow suit like that.
Yeah.
To get an impact player on that defense, you're going to have to go to free agency. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to see what's out there because you can't count a guy coming from college, as a cornerback or whatever, to just jump out and be that defensive stud that you need.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to mix and match this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing what happens here in the next few days. It's TheAirNetwork.net, Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio. Chad States, Huntington, Dave Shannon, by the way, in Altoona, and Jimmy Ty live in Johnstown. You can be a part of it. Give us a call, 814-619-4286. 814-619-4286. Maybe you have a high school basketball team that is going to the PIAA tournaments or getting into round one. You can tell us about that. Or perhaps you have a wrestler in your area, whether it's in Nevada, Colorado. We love it to be Pennsylvania, though. Call us up, 814-619-4286. Coming up, we'll talk about where the Pitt Panthers might be dancing this year at your house. Who is the strongest team in the field of 68, or is it now 72? Well, we'll find out more about that coming up next here on Monday Night Sports Talk. Stick around.
Top Steiner, 4 miles east of Huntington on Route 22, is keeping it fresh daily with great food at a great value for family and friends in a fun atmosphere. From their fresh-cut French fries, home-baked pies, and their home-style cooking, Top Steiner is the #1 destination for many hungry appetites. Stop by Top Steiner for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and great service 7 days a week. Top Steiner, east of Huntington on Route 22 for excellent service and delicious home cooking at a great value every day.
I'm coming home. What does sacrifice mean to you? Is it giving up your time and energy to keep America safe? Is it putting yourself in harm's way to protect our nation's way of life? No? Then maybe it's giving up that third latte to take care of the heroes that do.
The VFW makes it easy to help. Just call 1-855-9-HELP-VET. That's 855-9-HELP-VET.
The VFW. No one does more for veterans.
This message brought to you by the Huntington VFW Post 1754 on Penn Street. Restore the luster of your home or business now by calling Ted's Painting and Drywall at 814-641-0479. Ted's Painting and Drywall does quality exterior and interior painting, staining, faux finishing, trim work, and wall repair. Plus, Ted's Painting and Drywall can remove wallpaper and finish drywall for one room or the whole house. Ted's Painting and Drywall, a licensed contractor offering a 20% discount to seniors and 35% discount to churches. Book your work now at Ted's Painting and Drywall. Call 641-0479.
Hey, Frank, some of us are going out for lunch. Want to join?
No, thanks. I won't be able to make it for a while. My son's heading to a 4-year university this fall, and I'm watching every penny I can to help him with tuition.
Yeah, that can be so expensive. My daughter decided to go to Pennsylvania Highlands Community College. She'll earn her associate degree in 2 years before transferring to earn her bachelor's. I'll be able to save thousands by her attending Penn Highlands first.
Pennsylvania Highlands, really? My son is stuck on attending a 4-year university right away, far from home.
My daughter was the same until I explained to her that she'd end up with the same degree and far less debt. I don't want to see her starting out her adult life with a lot of debt. Penn Highlands just made the most sense. So, enjoy lunch.
Hey, wait for me.
I thought you couldn't afford to eat out.
That was before you mentioned Penn Highlands. How do I find out how to get my son enrolled?
I'll fill you in over lunch, but start by visiting Pennsylvania Highlands online at pennhighlands.edu.
You know, sometimes the conversations off air are more exciting than the ones on air, but thank you guys. Dave Shannon, Altoona, Jimmy Tide, Johnstown, Chad States, in Huntington. I'm Greg Banks in the studio. It's our Monday night sports talk. We do this primarily every Monday night from 7 p.m., I should say, to 8 p.m. Okay, I got it straight. By the way, online at www.theairnetwork.net or on your mobile device via TuneIn at the Air Network. And that number, guys, once again, is 814-619-4286. That's 814-619-4286. Hey, moving on here, Jimmy, I'll start with you since you're a Pitt, sort of like a Pitt alum. Pitt lost yesterday, 69-66 in basketball, to ACC bottom feeder, Wake Forest. Now, will the Panthers be dancing during the NCAA tournament, or are they going to the NITs again this year? What's happening with your Panthers, man?
It's not a good year for us. It looks to me like we're going to go to the NIT unless the only possibility that we will go to the Field of 64 or whatever you want to call that now, the NCAA tournament.
Hold that a second, Jimmy. Chad, I can hear you breathing real loud. So if you have to adjust that mic. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I was actually dying here, so.
The only way we will go to the NCAA tournament is if we go to the champion. I'm not going to say lose the champ. I'm not going to say win the championship game, but go to the championship game of the ACC tournament.
Well, they're not even going there, Jimmy. I mean, they're not going to be in the tournament, are they? I mean, come on.
ACC tournament.
That would okay. So they're going to have to win that tournament.
They will have to win their tournament.
Yeah.
And if you look at the teams in the ACC right now, Duke is number 4 in the nation.
Right.
Virginia is number 2 in the nation.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is top 20.
So truly, what are their chances, Jimmy? They're like number
0
6.
to none.
Okay, thank you.
0
Dave,
to none.
Let's move on to Dave and Chad because we could be on this subject all night. Dave, are you getting the same?
Pitt.
Are you getting the same feeling I'm getting that Pitt is sort of like also ran? They're going to the NITs this year if they take the bid, I guess. Is that your feeling?
Sadly, that's what I got to say. Boy, if they could get to the championship game of the ACC, boy, would that team be on a roll or what?
They'd be able to win the whole tournament then.
I'll tell you, they'd have the momentum to do it. But as Jimmy said, that's not going to happen. So therefore, sadly, it's another year with Pitt and what may happen in the NIT.
Yeah, Chad, your thoughts on that? And the fact of the matter is we know Penn State's probably not going to. Well, they might go to a tournament, but I forget what that tournament was called. What's your feelings on Pitt, though?
Well, Pitt's done. I mean, you can't lose to Wake Forest and expect to get into the dance. So I don't care what kind of statement they make in the ACC tournament. You've seen teams make decent runs but have to win the whole thing to get in. And that's exactly what Pitt would have to do.
Yeah.
I think that Penn State's going to be playing in the Penns Valley Invitational tournament coming up.
Not again.
Yep. And there's a stellar team from Mill Creek down here, Greg, that's it's going to be probably their stiffest competition as you could stick a fork in them.
Yeah.
They are done.
They're called the Mill Creek Bowtechers. I remember those guys. They won back in '81, that first tournament that they had over in Penns Valley. Yeah, I remember that. Hey, Chad, real quick. NCAA tournaments, really, truly, who are some of those teams that we're watching this year? Now, I know Kentucky's going to be in this fray. Arizona, Duke, Wisconsin. Do you see somebody like a Gonzaga or somebody like that just emerging out of nowhere? So we'll start with Chad and then run the game.
I mean, if you watch basketball this weekend, Northern Iowa and Wichita State kind of stand out to you. Both of those teams are very good, and those are teams that can stay together. Meaning, most of the time they don't have their one and done players on those teams, so they can build that team chemistry and really get onto a roll. But all kidding aside, Kentucky's going to run away with this, and it's not even going to be close. I mean, everybody's playing just to make that championship game. You can count this one over. This is Kentucky's championship already right now. It's done.
I saw some talk over the weekend about the Zags potentially getting a top seed when it comes time to announce the tournament seeding. So, I mean, some of those, some schools, although I'll tell you what, they refer to Gonzaga, and I've actually been at Gonzaga's arena. It's a beautiful arena. The bottom line is they're out there in the state of Washington, and they're not in the big market. They sit out there outside of Seattle instead. And so it's, they maybe you do want to call them a mid-major college team. But from the standpoint of it's really a well-run, a great university. And to be honest with you, of course, I was there with the St. Francis University women's basketball team. But I'll tell you what an atmosphere for women's basketball. And you know what the men's atmosphere is like in that arena in Spokane. I mean, man, Gonzaga is a real, really great program. It emerged there. When was that the Zags became something? Was that the 80s? Because they kind of came out of nowhere.
I was thinking more like the early 90s, but I could be wrong, Jimmy.
Okay.
You think in the 80s, Jimmy?
About the 80s, yeah, with John Stockton running the core.
Yeah, I just pulled up a story on the Zags, by the way, and they do have some setbacks. They have injuries. They do have the experience. The past 2 years, they finally began to gain purpose. On Thursday, it says here, but something in the back of my mind tells me that these guys were either like getting beaten rather badly yesterday or that they may have even lost, and that's what I was trying to pull up. Jimmy, do you have any information on that? As we're talking about Gonzaga? Okay. Well, what's your thoughts? Go ahead.
My thought is everybody's talking about Kentucky, Virginia, Gonzaga, Duke, but there's one team that no one is really looking at that's peaking at the right moment
Arizona?
right now, and that's the University of Utah Utes.
Okay.
Watch out for the Utes in the NCAA tournament. They will go to at least the Elite Eight.
Really?
But if you look at last year everybody was talking about how great Kentucky was, and guess what happened? A ninth seed got upset. The ninth seed UConn Huskies beat them.
Yeah.
A ninth seed.
Okay.
Hey, one game I did see over the weekend, a team that impressed me, and granted they were playing Florida State, but boy did Louisville look like an NBA.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Yep.
Yeah. They look tough.
Look at a team like Utah right now. They're peaking at the right moment. They're not going to win the Pac-10 tournament. They're going to be Utah's going to be in large bit, but they are going to make some noise in the tournament this year, guaranteed.
Well, those teams like VCU, Chad, we don't really hear much about them all season long, and then somehow or other they emerge throughout this tournament. Are there anybody, have you seen anybody that might be a sleeper this year or heard about anybody who might be a sleeper that just might come in here and be a spoiler, I guess is the best way to put it?
No, because Kentucky's put everybody to sleep. So, I have not. I mean, honestly, every time you look at it, they're posting wins by 16, 18, 25 points against ranked teams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honest to goodness, to me, it's the most humdrum of lead up to NCAA tournaments
Oh,
that I've ever seen. Because
they've had some close ones, though.
They have, but honest to goodness, I just really think they're just going to put everybody to bed and run away with this whole thing.
Hey, did you guys see last week where the coach from Tennessee, at the end of the game, berated one of his players, and
Vanderbilt.
obviously the
Vanderbilt.
and the microphones were wide open, and he just ripped this kid another rear. My thoughts on that was, you think that the coach was out of hand, although we know people swear and drop the F-bomb all the time, even in high school basketball games. Chad, if you agree with me there, to some extent, it just comes out and is blurted out. But let me ask you this. If you guys saw that, should that coach be suspended, even though he made the apology later? What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy first, and then Dave, and then Chad? This is this incident in Tennessee.
It was Vanderbilt. I saw that. I think the coach, he apologized, but if you look at the press conference, it wasn't really like an apology.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It wasn't an apology. I think the athletic director at Vanderbilt University should suspend him. You do not treat your players like that, no matter
That's
what.
right. Okay.
No matter what, he should be suspended.
Okay. What do you think, Dave? In a situation like that, even if you're not familiar with that particular situation, should the coach at least sit out for a while?
Maybe.
He called this kid an
Yeah,
effer.
yeah,
He called him an
okay.
effer several times.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to go ahead and
And he
side with
also
that.
said, I will kill you. Jimmy, that's the point, right? He said, I'll kill you.
I will kill you as you're walking into the locker room.
I will kill
Yeah,
you.
and that's everybody loses it. And here's the one thing you have to remember. And I think this came out when which coach was it that one of the assistants or
somebody grabbed a kid or hit a kid or something.
Yeah. This was a couple years back, and they had the cell phone camera, and you got to see what happened at practice.
Down
He
at
was from Rutgers, wasn't he?
Down at
Rutgers.
Rutgers, yeah.
Mike Rice. Mike Rice.
Yeah, with Mike Rice. Yep.
And you see those things, and that's one thing as a coach nowadays that you have to assume that no matter where you are, no matter what time it is, that you're now on camera.
Yeah.
It's just the way society is nowadays. And you can be frustrated with a player, but it's the type of thing where you got to take it somewhere else. You got to take it outside.
Yeah.
You got to take it into a private area and say your piece there rather than just man, you got to be so careful.
Chad, I want to ask Chad, do you think that's because some of these coaches maintain the old school mentality? Because, until I was like in the 9th grade, I always thought my name was asshole or little shithead or, what I'm saying? Coaches just blurt things out, and we come from Huntington where, quite frankly, we're country people and we respect our coaches. Now, saying that happened in the 70s versus today, do you think that maybe some of these guys still held on to the old beliefs that they could get away with that?
Maybe, but I think a lot of it's stress. I mean, let's face it. The game just ended. Wins and losses mean everything to a coach at that level.
Yeah.
It's his livelihood. It's his job. And he's at an institution like Vanderbilt where you really got to make sure that your student athletes are seen in a positive light because it's an academic first institution beyond athletics. So there's an intense amount of pressure there to make sure that the coach is making sure that the coach has those student athletes set in their ways to set a good example for the university because he can be held accountable for their actions. And I'm sure some of that was, just like I said, stress that was coming out for him. Do I think he needs to be suspended? No, because it's in the heat of the battle. It's no different than some reporter going up and stuffing a microphone in front of an athlete after a very high, a football game or a baseball game that had a lot on the line, and you want to say, hey, you just struck out to end the game. How do you feel? Well, you know how the guy's going to feel. Is he going to say it or not? So,
Well, they always do that with the NCAA tournament. They always get whenever it's a championship game.
Yeah.
And I remember the one year it was Roy Williams. He was still coaching Kansas.
Okay.
He was still coaching Kansas, and he lost to Syracuse that year. And the CBS reporter came up to Roy Williams and said, "Roy, so are you going to North Carolina?" And that was like 2 minutes after they lost.
Yeah.
He's not thinking about I'm going to go to Richie. we all know he did.
Well, let's face it, timing is everything. But in this instance, I think what happens is, they teach you this in Management 101. And I don't even know if I even passed that course that day, but I know for a fact you're to take that employee to the side in confidence where it's quiet and berate them there or explain to them what they did wrong. And the fact that this thing was on national television, it kind of stinks to high heaven. So that's why I kind of asked that question. And I apologize, by the way, for the names that I called myself, but it was even worse, believe me, back in the 60s and 70s, working with Coach Weaver. I had all kinds of names, and so did some other players, and we actually thought those were our nicknames. I answered to it every day. So, okay. Hey, listen, guys, real quick. Let me ask you this case. There was a case of girls playing basketball at a high school, I believe, out in the Midwest or somewhere.
Tennessee.
Okay, there it was Tennessee. And they were trying to lose the game, basically, Dave and Chad, because they didn't want to play the first seed in this state tournament. So they were trying. Now, this was an adult thing, or this was a player thing. How do you feel about games like that, where you're actually trying to lose, Dave? Let's go to that. You first, and then Jimmy, then Chad.
I don't think it's any different. One of the things in high school, as long as they're operating without a play clock, you've got the coaches that will slow a game down.
Or these girls were missing foul shots on purpose and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. The best, a real true athlete can do that and not make it look suspicious, but they weren't exactly good at it.
No, it looked obvious, obviously, on both sides of the court that night. Chad, your thoughts on something like that?
Well, my question is, what kind of tournament are you having where if you win, you end up getting? Well, these teams were like the 8th seed. Okay, the winner would have been the 8th seed. Had to play the first seed, I guess. So to lose, you're going to play who? The 7th seed?
You get to spare your dignity.
You get to play one more game. Obviously, you're playing a team that's going to kill you, and you don't want to play them.
I mean, it's you're going to lose the next round anyway, no matter what you do. So you might as well try to get your girls at least a win somewhere along the way. I fault the coaches here. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
You got to set an example moving forward. Even if you lose, lose with dignity. Don't just lose on purpose. See, they taught zero lessons to those girls.
Exactly.
And shame on them.
Yeah, I agree too.
I'd seen that video, and it was like, are you kidding me, man?
It was obvious, wasn't it, Jimmy?
And it maybe reminded me of playing high school basketball for Johnstown Votech.
Oh, yeah. And you know what?
We were that bad.
There were times that we would do your games on the game of the week, and by halftime, I would hear some of you guys going back in the locker room saying, I'm not coming back out.
Yeah, it was that bad. Like Votech would be playing a team like Central Cambria. And we're like, okay, nah, we're not going to do. Or Bishop McCourt, nah.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's move on.
But we still went out there, but the sad thing is we knew we were going to lose the game.
Yes, you did, but you still came out.
We still went out there. Votech, my team, still went out there. Yeah. And we tried our hardest.
And, Jimmy, they continued to do that for 4 or 5 years after you left, and they were getting beat so bad they shut the program down.
Yep, they shut the program down.
Oh, so we know. Hey, real quick, Chad, I want you to update us on Penn State Wrestling and the PIAA Wrestling update, if you will, real quick here.
Sure. Penn State headed into the Big Tens this weekend. They will probably finish somewhere around 4th or 5th. It's going to be a tough sledding. They didn't get any number 1 seeds heading into the tournament. Matt Brown at 174 pounds is the highest ranked Nittany Lion going into it. It will be held in Columbus, Ohio this weekend. This marks the end of the Alton experiment in State College, as Dylan and his brother Andrew will not be competing this weekend. Luke Fry from Montoursville will get the call at 157 pounds, as he was edging out Cody Law in the room, and then also just recently beat out Dylan Alton for the spot. So, it's not going to be like it was the last 4 years, but that's okay.
That's all right.
It's a good learning experience. It's a good building experience. That's not to say they don't have a shot at this. They do. They just have to wrestle above their seeds heading into Saturday's tournament. And let's face it, the Big Ten might as well be the NCAA championship because it's a meat grinder.
So who is the Big Ten contender that we're looking to emerge out of the Big Ten, though? Would it be Penn State, or what team are we looking for here?
You're looking at Iowa, Ohio State, and Minnesota at the best shot. Ohio State really has a good shot at winning this. They just kind of match up really well in a tournament against everybody else. So
really?
I wouldn't be surprised to see the Buckeyes come out on top. with Iowa second and the Minnesota Gophers in third this weekend.
Hey, I know you've been following the Huntington Bearcats through the regionals over the weekend at Canton McMillan. How'd they fare, and how many guys we taking to Hershey this week?
They had a great showing. They finished in fourth place. Chestnut Ridge was your Southwest AA regional champion, but Huntington finished in fourth. Mm-hmm. They advanced 4 guys to the PIAAs this weekend. Starting off with 120 pounds, Colin Glorioso was a champion at that weight at Cannon Mac. 152 pounds, Jacob Oliver was the runner-up. And at 160 pounds, John Wagner finished in 5th place. And then at 145 pounds, Seth Bainey punched his ticket with a 6th-place finish there. So 4 Bearcats headed to Hershey. One of them has a legitimate shot at bringing home the gold. I should say one. Jacob Oliver is always a threat to do that.
Yeah.
His weight class is just it's brutal.
Is it?
He in the second round he will face Billy Barnes, who ends up being the number 2 ranked kid in the entire state. He lost his regional final to the number 1 ranked kid in the state. So 152 is a very, very tough weight class. Colin Glorioso has a great shot at bringing home the gold this weekend.
He's at 120.
That's at 120.
Okay.
His toughest opponent, it looks like, could be in the semifinals as he'll face John Pippa if he makes it that far. But he'll face John Pippa, who is a returning PIAA runner-up last year at 106 pounds.
Has he ever met this kid before?
No, because he was at 106 last year and Colin wrestled at 113. So it should be their first meeting ever.
And my final question is this Glorioso's first regional title?
No, it is his second.
His second, okay.
He won 2 years ago, but he is a 2-time PIAA place winner. So big things out of those two. I would like to think that Colin should finish no less than second, and Jacob Oliver no less than fourth this coming weekend. There's also some area kids that are going to do quite well out there, too. Tristan Law from Forest Hills has a great shot at winning it.
Yeah.
Max Buren at 113 pounds, who's from Central Cambria, has a very good shot at winning his weight bracket, too. So, once again, D6 kids doing well. Robert Patrick from Ligonier Valley, don't want to leave him out.
No.
From that great Patrick family from down there at 145 pounds. He's a freshman. He has a great shot at winning it. So District 6 will be alive and well represented this weekend at Hershey.
And we'll be watching that, by the way. PCN will be covering that all weekend long. So best of luck specifically to the Huntington Bearcats and Coach John Mikett as they make it to Hershey this weekend for the state tournament. Meanwhile, Dave, the Penguins making a couple of acquisitions recently as today, and they've been skating a little bit better than last week. What do you think about that? Give us an update on the Penguins.
Well, one thing I have to say about the Penguins, now first off, don't discount how much Marc-Andre Fleury has been as far as the contributor to the recent winning streak. Mm-hmm. He let one horrible goal in yesterday, but hey, he's been lights out otherwise. And, they did pick up Ben Lovejoy.
Coming back to Pittsburgh. Coming back. Yay.
Yeah, and I like that because I'll tell you what, I'm not a big Simon Dupre fan. Mm-hmm. Dupre is not a good puck handler. There were some things that Simon did well, but I'm not sorry to see him go. The Pens, I think at times one of their biggest problems is turnovers.
Yeah.
And by getting rid of Dupre, they take that out of the equation. So I think that was a good move for them. Winnick. We got to see Winnick play yesterday. I think he adds something to the team. He is a big, imposing force out there.
Yeah.
So, and he also has some really good offensive skills. I think he showed that yesterday. He was able to get he had the assist on Downey's goal yesterday, and a really good assist. Went behind the net, found Downey in the slot, made a great pass to him, and Downey put it home. And so, I think they've set themselves. They didn't get any marquee names.
Well, there was an early deal in the deadline that I heard that Ian Cole from St. Louis had been picked up as a defenseman for the Penguins. Did you know anything about that?
I did not hear about that.
Yeah.
I had checked the Penguins website there before I came on. Maybe they just don't have it posted yet.
Yeah, well, I'm looking here that Bartuzzo, Cole, and Lovejoy all had been picked up by the Penguins. Now, I did see something about Winnick earlier in the day, but what I'm seeing as of about 2 o'clock this afternoon from the Trib Live page, that Rutherford and Penguins dealt for a pair of defensemen at the trade deadline, former Penguin Penn Lovejoy from Anaheim, and Ian Cole from St. Louis, who I'm not even familiar with him.
I to be honest with you, I'm not either.
Yeah.
If he's a big dude and he likes to beat on people, great. That's what the Penguins need.
Hey,
I have discovered one thing. I've been concerned throughout the course of the season.
Yeah.
I think Thomas Greiss has looked good from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm worried about what is in the wings as far as the goalies go. And yesterday they put up a graphic. I'm guilty. I've not been following Scranton Wilkes-Barre as close as I should.
Yeah.
But, man, do they have a goalie sitting at the SWB Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
He has 8 shutouts
Right.
on the season already, matching Marc-Andre Fleury. So I think the Pens have something in mind there, and I'm sure he's going to get a serious look when it comes to training camp once this season's over and we head to work next fall. So.
Hey, here's a tip. If you go deep enough into the Trib Live's website each day, they give us updates on what's happening down in their minors. And they're saying this goalie's got to be probably one of the most, he has the most potential of any goalie in minor league hockey this year. And the fact that he's affiliated with the Penguins can't be a bad thing, yeah?
No, absolutely. That's really great news. And, from the standpoint of Marc-Andre Fleury, there's a question as to how he holds his mind together.
Right.
I think the right kind of influence, like knowing that goalie is there to take over at a moment's notice, might get his focus a little sharper.
Plus, you know what? We all got to get our proper rest. You know what I mean? So if he gets a little rest, I think he'll be ready for the playoffs. At least we hope so. Dave Shannon, thank you much from Elton and Jimmy Ty from Johnstown and Chad States from Huntington. Let's do it again next Monday night, guys, all right?
All right, Craig.
All right, thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us, by the way, on Monday Night Sports Talk. Here on the airnetwork.net, we do it every Monday night from 7 to 8. You can check us out online at the airnetwork.net or via TuneIn, live on any mobile device at the Air Network. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back here next Monday night at 7 o'clock. So long.